Hey, so we are live. I am Pietra Diamant, for most of you who haven't been onto my channel yet. Today I'm speaking to Juanita and Sean from Animal Rescue Rehabilitation Organization. Live.
Hello.
Hello. Hi, everybody.
Hi. So I'm very excited to be speaking to the two of you. Juanita, I know I've known you for a while, and I know that when we met, you mentioned this is what you wanted to start, and you're so far along now. You've got a whole team on board. But let's start by you guys introducing yourself. So Juanita, do you want to go first, and then Sean, you after her?
Okay.
Thanks, Pedro. Yes. My name is Juanita Aitkenhead, and I'm the founder of ARRO. My dream has always been to help animals, and I just feel that, giving 100 Rand here or 200 Rand there, walking a dog or, donating food or whatever, that just wasn't enough for me.
Yeah.
And I just felt that more needs to be done, and I've also come to realize that the need for animal care is not necessarily to help the animals, but it's to help the people that take care of the animals. So spending a lot of time thinking about it and trying to find a solution, doing a lot of research, we started ARRO and we built up a team that we believe has found the solution.
Amazing. And Sean, you?
So I'm a partner in an architectural firm, and out of the blue, I got a phone call from Alan Perrins to say, would I come and have a look at the Grassy Park SPCA, just to kind of give an out-the-box look at how you can design an animal welfare shelter. And that's how my introduction to looking at animals and the psychology around animals, etc., happened. I got really passionate about it, designed their brand new international standard type of facility. And from that, Juanita phoned me up and said, hey, look, we want to really think out the box. We want to take this idea of helping a whole lot of other shelters, etc., learn from what you've learned and take this forward. And would you want to be part of ARRO? And I said, absolutely. I think there's an absolute need there. I think people desperately need to get this information and to be able to change probably the course of animal shelters and how they can do stuff and learn from each other and get an international standard facility helps the animals immensely, and that's kind of the whole goal of it. So that's why I wanted to be part of it.
Amazing, because who would say no, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, you would really have to have no heart to say no to a project like this.
Yeah.
So I'm going to shorten it. I'm going to say ARRO SA. That's just a short version. It's going to be easier, I think, for us to speak about the project and the initiative. Give me a little bit of, are we going to introduce other members first before we go to the overview? How would you like to do this? Let's see who else is on board.
I think it'll be nice. Thank you. The rest of our team, they're not available for today. But yes, I think it's important that we do mention who our wonderful team is. First of all, we've got our chairman, Lisa Lotzer. She has been very helpful in helping us to chair our meetings once every 6 weeks for 2 hours, and spending the free time that she does have to try and help us. And she's done an absolutely fantastic job at it. So Lisa is our chair lady. And then we have Glenys de Toy, who's also one of our trustees, and her husband, Andre de Toy, also known as the Big Positive Guy. When we introduced Andre to our organization, he was just absolutely blown away by the scope and the magnitude that this project can go, and he joined us as well. Then we also have Soumya Gautam. She is currently the reigning Mrs. India SA.
Wow.
And she, when we explained to Soumya what we're going to do and her absolute passion to help towards humanity as a whole, when she heard about our project also, she was very excited to come on board. And then we have our legal team. We've got Sandra as well as Lizelle Brits-Chapman, who are backing us up from a legal point of view. So should we need any sort of legal advice or guidance with regards to how to go about legally, then they're there to back us up. And I think that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. So that's quite a team you have on there. I mean, you've really developed this. And me now looking at Sean and listening to him. And Sean, you've also got a few other titles, I believe, behind your name. Do you want to share a little bit about that so that people can understand just the quality of the team and the essence, you know, really what people are bringing to the party? If we speak about service to humanity, you know, it's such a complex, you know, like the human mind and the human being and the human species is so complex. So give me some more titles.
Oh, you know, it's a bit embarrassing, but you know, I studied architecture, and then when I graduated, I realized that architects are fantastic as designers, but they really know nothing about business and how businesses work. So I did a postgrad diploma in business, then I did an MBA. And at the end of my MBA, I got really interested in looking at psychology of wellness and people and their job satisfaction in careers, etc. And I did a PhD in industrial psychology.
Yeah.
And what is really interesting is that I've been able to take all that knowledge and apply it back into architecture, but for clients. You know, so I understand what it means now to have a budget. You know, what it means to have operations, marketing, all the kind of things that businesses need to do to function. And then from a psychology point of view, what was really interesting was I was able to take that knowledge of looking at what affects human beings and gives them satisfaction and you know, simple things like in an office environment, you put a pot plant and they think they're happy. How do you translate that back into animal psychology? How do you make sure that an animal who's in a cage, and how do you give them that kind of security, that they're not stressed, etc.? And I must say that was one of the highlights of the project, was by thinking about how you design an animal facility rather than looking at it like just a prison, but actually creating a designed prison, okay, where they are in cages, they are secure, etc. But in the same breath, you know, they don't feel that they have less stress. And we did a whole lot of studies on it. We looked at animal welfare, sight lines, psychologies, etc. And just by changing the pattern and turning it into a curve rather than a straight line, we managed to drop animal stress by 70%. And, you know, those kind of things, and you say, well, how do you measure it? Well, we were measuring it by feces. You know, when a dog is stressed, they happen to go to the toilet a bit more. And we were monitoring that they actually were less stressed because they weren't having as much toilet time as they needed.
Yeah.
And also noise levels. You know, dogs like to communicate, etc. But when they get stressed, they bark a lot. And what we were doing was monitoring noise levels, and they could still see some of their friends on the curve, but they weren't actually getting stressed out when they saw an animal leaving, etc. So these things were really important. Is how do we translate animal welfare? And we kind of look at animals and we go, oh, we love them and they're cute, but they're little people predominantly.
Of course they are. You know, I mean, they're family, they're friends. They're the ones when you don't feel like being with human beings, you go and you hug your animal, and you know, you speak to them, and it's like their little cute baby words, and you know, they're family. They have personalities. So this is amazing, and I want to honor the two of you and just say thank you so much for following your purpose and following your light and bringing your creativity and your skills, Sean, to you, Anita's dream. And obviously you, Anita, you know, you're just, like I said, you know, you're just a little fluff bundle of love for these animals. The voice for the voiceless, right? Yes. So that's amazing, Sean. That's amazing. I actually want to hook you and bring you over and say, okay, well, here I am. Take me on as a project as well. So thank you for that, because I do need the help. Okay, so I think let's get the problem out of the way. Let's get serious before we get all happy, rainbow and shooting stars. Let's talk about the problem, okay? Because I know that South Africa the level of abuse towards animals in communities it's enormous. I mean, it's what happens to these animals from dogs to cats to chickens to mice to rabbits to everything that is in a community that maybe doesn't have the education or the compassion or the there's a lack of love. Let's talk about the seriousness of how full these shelters get, how unskilled maybe some of the people in the shelters are, because we want to do good and we have this idea and we start something, but then we don't necessarily have the money, or we don't have the space, or we don't have whatever it is to create a home, and then we use the word prison, right? I think what you guys are busy is you're creating a home. You're creating a safe space and a sanctuary. So let's talk about the problem quickly. What happens in these shelters?
Well, first of all, I think that was quite a wide statement, because that statement, there's various places where you can start in that conversation. But I think to summarize it in the shortest possible way, I think the whole idea is, it all starts with the fact that currently there are over 400 towns or communities in South Africa alone that do not have access to animal shelters or veterinary care. Now, that's the first problem. The second problem is that when somebody is totally passionate about animals and they get exposed to that environment, they decide they're going to start a rescue facility. And they start something which is called a private animal shelter. And then what they do is that shelter is built organically. So they build a pen for 10 dogs, and then the next minute there's 20 dogs, and they build another pen, and before you know it, they've got 200 to 300 dogs all scattered all over the place, trying to, in different pens and in different kennel areas, and they're trying to make ends meet. And these people that are so passionate and doing absolutely the most amazing work needed in humanity, they become so overwhelmed that they start getting anxiety and very depressed, and they end up focusing on trying to get money just to survive and to feed the animals and care for the animals and medicate them. And the end result is they actually cannot go out into the community and spend time with the community and educate that community that they are serving by teaching them how to take care of and nurture animals and the welfare of the animals. And that is sort of like a roll-on effect that just gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and it snowballs into a situation that sometimes these shelters just collapse, and then eventually the local authorities, like the likes of the NSPCA, have to step in and go and euthanize or rescue, and then people need to foster the animals, and it's a big disaster. So that is really the big concern that is faced out there, is that everybody is trying to help as best as they can, and sometimes they do not have the knowledge to either run an organization like a business, or they might not know exactly how to care for the animals, and they have no knowledge about shelter management. People feel sometimes, because they're so broken inside to how the abuse and the atrocities might be happening, that they don't even want to go out there and fix the environment around them. And we believe that what we can do as an organization is, once we can start and develop a shelter model and a shelter plan that can help these people to operate 100% at their capacity in a humane way, so that they also have a quality of life, and that they can educate and guide and support their immediate communities, then we believe we've achieved the result that we would like to achieve, and that is to help the people to help their communities.
Amazing. So, Sean, do you want to say something on that? Do you want to give your part?
Yeah, sure. Juanita covered it really, really well. I think the big one is that you cannot fault the people that are involved in these organizations. They have an absolute passion. They want to make a difference, and their heart is in the right place. I think that, what Juanita was alluding to was that there's a lack of, let's call it, skill and maybe understanding on how to run the facility, how a facility should be set up correctly. So, it's simple maths in the beginning. How many dogs are coming in, or how many animals are coming in, and how many animals are going out in adoption. And if you don't get those formulas right, you then start getting overcrowding, which leads to disease and lack of funding to feed the animals. And that's when there's a full breakdown in these facilities. And, a lot of the organizations that we speak to, and that was one of the starting points we spoke about at the SPCA, was that, how many are coming in, and a lot of the organizations we talk to don't have a policy where they put animals down. The animals are there till the animals are adopted. And so that also causes a cyclical problem, because if you start what I call lifers, dogs that potentially are never going to be adopted, what happens to them? They just become part of the holding family. And so those dogs have to be cared for until they pass on. So if your whole organization is built on, let's call it, lifers, and nobody's being adopted, then basically how are you funding the organization? So those are the first kind of strategic things to look at. The next one is, there's kind of good policy practice. Dogs that come in that are new potentially have diseases. They should be in quarantine. They should be in a quarantine cycle for 10 days, etc. Then get introduced into the animal population. And what's happening is a lot of guys just have one pen. A dog comes in and might have a disease that gets passed on to other dogs, and then all of a sudden you have a big breakout. So there's kind of policies on planning of how do you build facilities, what are the next steps for that. Then you talk about your operations. As your organization gets bigger, all of a sudden it's just not you as the owner who's passionate. Now you have to have additional staff. Then you start saying, well, how do I pay for these staff? How many staff to how many dogs? So there's a ratio that needs to be applied there. So, all of a sudden your operations can spiral out of control. So that's where design becomes really important, because what you want to do is you want to design a facility that, a handler can handle X amount of dogs very easily. They've got to feed those animals daily. They've got to clean those cages at least twice a day. All those kind of things. How do you stop biohazards from moving from one section to another? So there's a whole lot of stuff that is out there. There's knowledge, etc. But a lot of these people don't have access to that. And a lot of people need the skills development. And that's why I got passionate about ARRO, because I was going, here's an organization that's not just linked to one facility. They're saying, hey, we can be the brains trust. We can be the organization that you can come to and we can help you. And it's not tied to anybody, but it's saying, we're trying to gather this group of individuals that are passionate, that have all this knowledge. Let's pull us all together. Let's assist you the best way we can. And whether that's just passing on a manual, or that's building a facility for you and getting it from the ground up. And you've got all these people that are saying, hey, I'll give you my time for either for free or at a limited charge, just because they're passionate about it, but they want to see you succeed. And that's what I really loved about it.
Amazing. Oh, amazing. Oh. So what do I want to ask? Okay, so yes, because I believe that we have to help, and I call them the superheroes, right? These are the people that are the passionate ones. They go out there, they basically dedicate their lives to helping and assisting and contributing towards animal well-being and animal safety, and I call them the superheroes. And I'm so aligned with your values with ARRO at the moment, because that's let's help them. Let's help the people who are doing the work. That's amazing. Okay, so and then we start projects like this, and then people are like, why don't you just go and work for shelters? Anybody that's an entrepreneur, or that's a social entrepreneur, and you have a new project. I know you, Anita, we get people asking, well, isn't it better if you don't start a new organization? You just rather go and volunteer at organizations. I mean, you volunteered at organizations, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think, volunteering at an organization is critical. I believe that everybody should volunteer at an organization in their community. It's critical. They have to do it. And that to me is very important. where you need to support your environment, because your environment is what matters. It's pointless where somebody in Cape Town now supports an organization in Johannesburg, for instance. So that's where I believe it's very important that we support the environment that we live in.
Yeah.
And I think ARRO specifically, our environment is going to be South Africa. So whilst I have been volunteering and working with local organizations all the time, growing out
Let's just wait because we have some noise. So just give me 1 second. Sorry, guys. This is the only place I could have set it up today because of the Wi-Fi.
It's okay.
Almost done.
It's the local Air Force.
Okay. Yes. The local airport. Okay, they're almost gone. Okay, continue.
So yes, our organization, our community is South Africa, and that's where we want to take this project going forward. Maybe what I can do is explain to you how we believe we can make an organization, or we can build a successful animal shelter.
Yes, the overview and the mission. Let's do that.
I think the critical need that every animal shelter has is that they all need a veterinary clinic, some sort of veterinary service or veterinary support. Now, generally what happens is when an animal is abused, neglected, injured, or abandoned, it gets taken to a shelter facility, be that private or public. The first thing that happens is the animal needs to be seen by a vet. And that is why ARRO shelters, ARRO accredited shelters, will be providing a veterinary clinic at the shelters that we build. The veterinary clinic will have a reception area, it will have a proper consulting room, it will also have a surgery, and it will have an area where the animal has time to recover.
Yeah.
So also on top of that, what we will do to attract vets to the shelters to provide their community services is build them a stylish accommodation. Now, the vets at the moment, I'm not sure if it's international or if it's just local, but I do know that once somebody has qualified for their veterinary, they're not allowed to qualify until they've done their year's community service. Yeah. Now we believe that when we provide them with stylish accommodation at animal shelters, these graduates or graduates that are people that are about to graduate could come and stay at these shelters and provide that community service for a year, with everything given to them, everything on a platter, and assist the animal shelter. So that will also, in the long term, reduce or assist the shelters in reducing their veterinary bills.
Amazing. It's amazing. It's so important. Yeah, it's so important to have hands-on, 24-hour available. You know, it's like we like you said, Sean. You know, they are teeny tiny little humans, and you know, what do we do when we're in crisis? We go to the hospital or to the clinics, and there's somebody there. And I think these animals have the same right to be able to experience something like this and receive the assistance required.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, just a step back, you were saying, how do you assist the heroes? And you know, it's everybody. If I just take you're spreading the word. So you're taking your skill and you're saying, how can I assist in my realm? How can I take what I can offer and give a platform to create awareness? So, you know, if I look at my skills as an architect, I'm saying as an architect, I can donate my time, my staff resources, etc., to assist in drawing up a facility, etc. You've got Andre, who's a radio DJ, saying, hey, you know what, I'll spread the word. You've got, you know, ambassadors from all over saying, hey, you know, as long as I've got a platform, I can create awareness. To people that are saying, hey, you know what, I don't want to be involved, but I can donate money. You've got people that are saying, I've got time, but no money, so I'll come and spend time at these shelters. And so we're just looking for everybody to say, hey, what can I offer and how can I make a difference? And it doesn't necessarily have to be you physically going to the shelter and walking a dog. But even then, you know, one of the initiatives we started or proposed was that at these shelters, you know, get your local run, walk for life, etc., and let them do circuits or laps and take a dog for a walk rather than going a walk down the road. You know, not only are you getting your exercise, but you're exercising a dog. So, you know, it's getting organizations to think out the box. Juanita alluded now to veterinary students. Now that's government taking initiative and saying, hey, you know what, if there's a facility, we can place you. And so you start looking at this from a macro level and saying, you know, from this macro level, each one of us on a little micro bit can make a huge difference. And by making that little difference, everything changes.
Yeah. Beautiful, 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 beautiful. Amazing. Yeah, I believe in that as well. It's like I'm speaking to the two of you and I'm kind of like listening to my inner world and my inner mind and my inner child speaking. I believe that as well, you know, and I know that in London they have this setup where you can, I think, not rent a dog, but you can, you know, book a kind of like an animal companion for like 30 minutes or 30 minutes, you know, and they've got this website up and it says, you know, the dog would be like, hi, I'm quite shy. I don't like going for long walks. I'd rather sit on my couch and watch TV, you know, and the person could still come in and, you know, adopt this dog for like 2 or 3 hours and spend time with that animal. So, you know, it is about getting creative and allowing people in their capacity to come on board. And if that is, you know, somebody that's maybe not in a position where they can afford to own a dog because they either don't have the space for it or the money for it, then they could come and walk the dog, or they could come and pet, or like, you know, wash, or whatever it is, speak to animals, you know, whatever it is that you you know, express your love, how you express your love towards these beautiful sentient beings, right?
Absolutely.
So how are we doing this? Give me the design scoop, because I've watched a little clip that Juanita sent to me that I'm not allowed to share with anyone, but that's given me some insight into how beautiful the setup will be. And I mean, I'm quite like, I actually want to go and sleep over for one night and just test it out and, you know, check it out and kind of like, you know, on Instagram, hashtag this. So give me the design scoop, because it looks more like a very exclusive retreat more than an animal shelter, but it is an animal shelter, but it looks just so stunning and nice. Nice is the word, actually. Nice.
Thank you. Well, that was Sean. Sean's the genius behind the nice.
Yes. Give us a picture. Give us the visual. Paint the picture.
So understanding all those parameters that I was talking about earlier, you know, like overcrowding, operation flow, feeding dogs, etc. One of the big things that we looked at was we said, okay, we have to come up with a modular system, like a Lego kit of parts, that as the shelter grows, so it can grow and it can plug in whatever it needs. And so what we looked at was we said, how can we fund this in piecemeal bites? People can either say they'll buy a little part of the Lego block, or they can buy like what we call a unit. And so we designed it around containers and container modules. Because, you know, containers are cheap, they're easy to get hold of, they're about 6,000 Rand a container when you fit them all out, and even then the fit out's not that expensive. But we're working on about 6 kennels per container, and then those containers would get laid out in a very simple like cross, if you can imagine, like and that cross allows one handler to handle 40 dogs, which is really important because, you know, it means that the animals are split. So you've got 12 per wing, if that's the best way to describe it. So that also meant that you were only having 12 dogs at any one time being stressed. 12 dogs are manageable to be able to walk, feed, clean, etc. So this handler can have a rotational system. So that was really simple on the design, and it also meant that you could sell off 1 container, 2 containers, or 6 containers plus the central core. Then from that, we developed the veterinary side of that, and the veterinary clinic was also kind of a modular system, which then had a housing unit added onto that. We also had bigger kind of handling units where the dogs were kept in kennels with their own accommodation. So a handler would also have his own accommodation. So the thing that we were finding was that a lot of the facilities we were going to, a lot of the handlers and owners were living on site. And, you know, some of the organizations, they are so passionate. For them, it was, they would rather sleep in the kennels than in their own house, because they knew the dogs were stressed and they were part of the family. So they'd have them in their beds and all sorts of things. So, you know, we needed to accommodate that, which is very different to the kind of philosophy that most people see an animal welfare, which is just a whole lot of cages and animals in there. The organizations we're looking at is looking at it from a psychology kind of point of view of how do you make this an environment that these animals feel welcome. They have come probably from a traumatic background. We're trying to get them into a place where they are now comfortable enough to be adopted, etc. So the layout was really, really important, not only from a costing and operational point of view, but also how do the animals interact with each other, how do they interact with humans, etc. And so each one of these had their own spill-out pens, so the animals could go out and have run time. And depending on what level of dog they were in terms of whether quarantine or pre-adoption or adoption, different size pens. If there were some animals that potentially were more stressed than others or had maybe a more traumatic background, they could be in isolated pens, etc. So we designed like a kit of parts. And depending on what that organization needed, they could adapt that kit to fit their needs. And that's basically the design, was that this pro forma could go out to any organization, be planted down anywhere and roll out. And the systems would just follow a very good structured base, which was all the kind of don't overcrowd, follow your kind of flow patterns from quarantine to pre-adoption to adoption, etc. So once that guide was set up, this kit of parts was easy to roll out.
Amazing.
I'd like to add to that.
Yes.
Sean, thank you very much. I think that, sorry, just before we carry on, I just want to say thank you to Teresa Schroeder for making a comment saying she enjoyed an outing at Fallen Angels yesterday and saw an ARRO link. And she's looking forward to seeing the outcome of ARRO's work. So thank you so much, Teresa,
Beautiful.
for that comment. And anybody else, if you'd like to ask any questions, please post your questions and we would be glad to try and answer them for you.
Yes. Yes.
Sean, yes, I think Sean has put it very basic and in good detail, shall I say? It explained it really well in a short amount of space.
Yeah.
The thing that is critical for us is once we've built the veterinary clinic, and then we will build the quarantine pod where the animals will then go to the quarantine section. Once they've been cleared from all the diseases, they will then move over to a pre-adoption area where the animal behaviorist will then have time to assess the dog's personality and maybe if the dog needs training, any sort of trauma counseling or whatever the case may be. Once the animal is cleared from the pre-adoption and is ready for adoption, it will then go into the adoption area. And what Sean has come up with is brilliant, because now what we're going to do is we're going to make the quarantine and the pre-adoption area inaccessible to the public. And the public will only have access to the adopted animals, the dogs that are, or the cats that are adoption ready, making it easier and more fun for people to come to the shelter and enjoy seeing animals that are adoption ready and not be overwhelmed and traumatized by seeing animals that actually is still busy being rehabilitated. We find that a lot of people want to go and adopt an animal, but they are too traumatized because they are so overwhelmed by this great number of animals that they prefer to stay away. And that also happens where they will rather buy a dog online or from a breeder or whatever. And I'm not dissing any organization or any means, but to get them to come and adopt, we need to make the experience a pleasure. And that is also part of the psychology of the design, is that when people do come to the shelter, they enjoy the visit.
Yes, I think that's so important, because the aesthetic side of things and the way that we've been programmed, I mean, that is so important, right? I know from just going with my own work, if you show somebody a picture of a rhino with a missing horn and it's like all hacked up, they don't want to look at it. But then you have me standing in the street with my art and it looks quite pretty, and then people are like, oh, now we're going to look. And then I do the photos and the images, and then like, oh, now they look more. So the aesthetic side of it is definitely important. We've been so conditioned that we only want to look at things that are beautiful. We only want to look at things that are pretty. It doesn't have to be. People don't like to be uncomfortable, and I find with some of these shelters, people do get uncomfortable because it's somebody like me, I walk in there and I want all of them. I want to help all of them. I want to take all of them home with me. Just because of the condition, just because of because I think that I can give them more love. But when they've already gone through the rehabilitation, when they've already gone through the healing part, when they already have the personality and the spark back into the eyes, I think that makes it easier for people to connect with that animal. So definitely, it's beautiful. And then, so beautiful. So we only have a few more minutes. I think 5. What else is there? Let's talk about the money aspect of it. How are we going to fund this? Like, who's going to fund this? Where are we going to get the money from? How would you like to invite people to, open up their hearts and open up their wallets and fund the project? And who do you have? Who's coming on board?
Have we lost Sean?
We have. You can just click onto the link again. Oh no. Okay, but you can answer that, Juanita, as well. If he comes back online, then that's fine. Maybe there was load shedding. Who knows? We have load shedding in South Africa. Oh my goodness. So let's talk about funding. I want to invite people to really go onto Facebook and social media and go onto the ARRO website. It's a beautiful website. There's lots of information on there. And we spoke about, I think you will name the number of what's required to get the project going and what it costs to get individual projects up and running. Juanita, how much money? What do you need?
Okay. All right. Before I answer that question, first of all, just it's important that we get sponsors. Okay, yes. And our sponsors are critical to the success of the project, and we are looking for national sponsors, people that are prepared to go with us wherever we go around South Africa. Like, for instance, currently one of our volunteers, stroke sponsors, Sally de Oliveira, she's assisting us with our marketing and our design and all our social media. So a big thank you to her. Michelle Beckerleg, she's supporting us from Nedbank side. So big thank you to Michelle and Nedbank for their support so far. My husband, Alex Aitkenhead from Rosines Neon, they are going to be doing all the signage for all the shelters that we build. That's a very big project on its own, just the signage. So that's going to be fantastic. Then we also have Mr. Ari Voyatis, who has come on board supporting us. He's already donated money towards the borehole at our current first project. So he's from Remax Living in Cape Town. So thank you very much to Ari.
And then, of course, these are big names already. I mean, these are like really big names. So I think this makes it easier for other sponsors to come on board. And it's such a great project as well. Like, you would definitely want your name or your brand attached to this. Yes. Hi, Sean, are you back?
I am. I don't know what happened, but I'm back.
Yay! Well, we see you have a little free hugs. Cute. So Juanita's just mentioned some of the sponsors. There's your lovely face. So Juanita's just mentioned the sponsors, and it's really big names already. I mean, I am so impressed with this. And I was saying to her that, this is such a great project to actually put your brand and your logo to nationally. And then I also wanted to say your module and your recipe, you can go international with this, across border with this. I mean, neighboring countries could benefit from this, and then, extend to other countries and continents.
I think that, yeah, carry on, Sean.
You know, that's one of the things that I keep challenging the whole team is I'm going, this is so much bigger than just Cape Town, South Africa. You know, this is something that I firmly believe is possible internationally. I think that, you know, there's a whole lot of people all around the world that have the same passion. They all trying to do the same thing. And if we can all come together and we can all find a formula that works, what's stopping us from rolling it out in countries that need it? You know, and I think the next step for us would be definitely to start spreading into Africa, because I think there's a massive need there.
Yes.
And pulling resources that are from the first world countries that have some stuff that we could learn from as well.
Yes, yes, yes. And I think also in terms of sponsorship, you know, you could also invite international investors now already, because it's such a great project. It really is such a great project. And I mean, the team is so skilled and it's a large team, and, you know, the sponsors that are already on board, these are really big names again, so it makes it so much easier. And then not to forget, you know, people as well, for instance, like myself, or anybody else who has the money, you know, can come on board and sponsor in any way, you know, whether it's monetary or then your skills. I think all of it helps and assists.
We have developed the program so there's a plug and play system, so we can build the modules as the funding comes in. So if we only have to build the veterinary clinic first and then the quarantine and so on, then we could do that as well. One module, we call it a pod.
So Juanita, I just want to quickly stop you. So Sean, can you put your headgear in for me, please? Thank you. Apologies, Juanita. Apologies, everybody. I mean, it's live, it's raw, it's not, you know, we have a whole production team.
There we go.
Okay, yay. Okay, continue, Juanita.
So once the foundations are laid, we will develop and design the pods off-site and literally just come and offload them and install them. One pod will cost approximately 1.5 million rand, and that can be broken down into various sections. So whilst 1.5 million rand might be a lot of money, if we can break it down and we can say let's build the left side of the pod and then the right side, etc., that's also very possible. The total project that we're currently working on, where we are rebuilding an entire animal shelter that is currently on the outskirts of Melkbos in the Western Cape. To rebuild that project, it's going to cost us 15 million rand. And how we're going to get this funding is we are going to be approaching corporates who are capable of either providing us with a national footprint or would like to just sponsor that specific unit going forward. What's also important in terms of the funding is how are these shelters, once we've built them, how are they going to maintain themselves? Is we mustn't forget that we will give them something that will be income bearing on the facility. So we will also build them kennels that they could get people from the outside to come and bring their animals to stay there when they go away on holiday, who will then have access to the veterinary clinic, will have access to the parlor, the grooming parlor, or the animal behaviorists, so that the boarding kennels will also have a means of providing the community with a service as well as bringing income to the actual shelter. But for us, all we want to do is collect funds to build the shelter.
Yes.
Then we will make it an ARRO accredited shelter. It will not be our shelter. It will be an ARRO accredited shelter. So they'll still keep their name. They'll still continue running on their own, doing their own thing with the minimum guidelines of the minimum requirements to adhere to the standards that we will request from them to run the shelter, so that we know that it's going to be a success and it will last for a long time.
Amazing. So that's such a beautiful way to end the interview as well. And I want to thank both of you so much for agreeing to the interview and letting me share your beautiful project and share, your beautiful faces and your beautiful hearts and your love, with everybody else. And I just want to say, and I've mentioned this in a previous interview as well with somebody. So the word dog spelled backwards is God. And these animals really are sentient, and I believe that they are here to make the entire human experience also so much better for us, and they bring so much love and joy to our hearts. So for those that are listening now, or you'll be on the replay, if you're on the replay, then I would recommend, if you have any questions, to email Juanita or Sean directly from the website. That's easier, unless they want to go onto the replay and they want to see who else has commented. And then my invite for South Africa and even across border and across continent is to really support this project. A lot of work has gone into this in the planning, from what I hear, and the design. And I definitely, I'm not a vet, but I definitely want to go and sleep over one evening just to test it out. And then I think we should get a video up and going where we can share that with people, to share the development, also with my community, and just to share the love and see, how the whole team is developing and who else is coming on board. And then thank you to the sponsors as well that have already supported you. So I have to go because I have another interview.
Thank you.
Final words.
Pietro, thank you. Sean, you go first.
Yeah, I was just going to say that, this interview is making a difference. You're getting awareness out there. So just a big thank you to you for helping us spread the word.
Oh, I'm so in love with the two of you now and just this project. And thank you so much for that, Sean. Thank you. And you, Anita?
Pietro, thank you very much for giving us this platform to be able to share our message out there and try and get as many people on board, and hopefully we can get some people to join the ARRO movement. And for all the fantastic work that you do, not just for animals, but for nature as a whole. You're a fantastic person. Keep up the good work. We admire you as well. Thank you so much. And then lastly, thank you to everybody else who spent the last hour listening to us. Thank you so much. And Sean and myself will be on air tonight again on Smile FM with Andre de Toy. So if you want to join us tonight and listen to our interview with Andre, that'll be lovely. Please do join us tonight as well. And if you want to get hold of us, our website, www.arro.org.za. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you.
Amazing. So I think I'm going to include the website. I don't know if I've included the website. I will have a look to see, but I'll add some more information. And then let's do a follow-up interview maybe in a couple of months from now, where we can say, okay, well, this has happened and that's happened. But now I have to say goodbye. And I'm so excited, and I'm looking forward to the next one. And thank you to everybody that was listening. I know we have some really big names on there, so I'm going to go and check it out. And thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Let me stop this. How do I stop broadcast? Okay.